it's kind of been the story of this series where Jaylen Brown has been the guy attacking the rim, putting pressure on the defense, driving kick, just keeping them in it. And this was another example. And then, down the stretch of another game, they go away from Jaylen Brown. And this time it actually worked out because Tatum like woke up, or his shot started going in, or someone flipped the magnet on the ball or something. But they went away from Jaylen Brown a little bit, but Jaylen Brown kept them in this game for the majority of it. And, he's been doing that the entire series. This is it's funny that the all NBA announcements happened this week. And there's a lot of conversations about how both of these guys are now super max eligible. And I think there's a weird conversation that happens outside of my NBA circle where people act like these two guys aren't perfect partners. But I think that was an example of why, because Jaylen Brown was so aggressive and staying on top of the Sixers that they couldn't really take a break. And it allowed Jayson Tatum room to suck.
Is it fair to say that Tatum is more talented, but Jaylen Brown is tougher? And this is not me. I'm not saying that Jayson Tatum is not a tough player.
Sure.
I'm saying that Jaylen Brown, like that is a high level trait of his. And I think that's, I think enough has been said about his, struggles as a ball handler and stuff like that. And I think we saw this in the finals too last year when Tatum was kind of in his own head a little bit. Like Jaylen Brown was the guy who would stick his head down and for better or the worse, I'm going that way hard. And that's an interesting dichotomy between those two in that way.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment in that scenario. Like Brown was really good for 3 quarters, then he slips on a wet spot and I just kind of disappeared. But he also has been disappearing in the fourth quarter throughout this series. And I think it's more the product of the Celtics offense. I think we were having this discussion, Dave, and you might enjoy this one. If the Celtics had lost this game, this conversation on Tatum, I mean, this would because the media loves to do it, it would have been a referendum on Tatum's career. And we would have said it's over at 26 or whatever, and setting up the comeback for next season and all the storylines that go with that. But the Celtics offense has to help these guys. They need to put an offense together that actually helps these guys so that it's not they have to bear the weight of just create shit. This is and I don't mean just be playmakers. They just don't have anything. They don't run anything. They call it random. Like when I was a video coordinator, yeah, I'd have a play section that we would call random. We were never supposed to have like 5 or 6 plays more than that of randomness in the game. They have the entire game of randomness and 5 or 6 just actual plays. Like the offense has to help these guys in that sense, the structure that they have to build in that. And I mean, they got lucky tonight or yesterday.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays.
To your point, after the game, Marcus Smart, he called out Joe Mazzulla and said, he's been getting killed, rightfully so. You got your player sitting there in the post game, honestly saying, you know what, the media is kind of right. He's sucked a little bit. It was.
Don't say that, Marcus. Don't say the quiet part out loud, dude.
It's so funny to me because this is not just a Joe Mazzulla problem. Because this was an Ime Udoka problem, and this was a Brad Stevens problem. At a certain point, we've got to start looking at the players and say, maybe there is a system, and the players either don't know it or just don't want to run it. And that's what it is. I refuse to believe that NBA coaches aren't putting in a playbook.
So I think that this is going to sound weird that I'm doing this today, but I think that if Jayson Tatum, in particular, took a little bit of a page from Devin Booker's book, and when like a couple seasons ago, I think it was Monty Williams' first season, when Booker first kind of transitioned from being kind of more of an empty calories guy to a really impactful player, he talked a lot about like point fiving, like catching the ball, making a quick decision. And I think that's something that Tatum has all the ability in the world, that if he just went just that half count faster, instead of catching and settling, catching and surveying, There's so many times where if he just caught and went when he catches the ball, because I think I disagree with Mo a little bit. I think their offense does get him the ball in spots at times where he's got like a semi closeout coming to him, but he doesn't take advantage of it because he catches and holds and surveys. And so I think it's a little bit of both in that if he just did that, not every time. There are times where, survey the floor, do a thing is right. But I think better balancing that will make his life easier. Will get them in situations where they attack a closeout, kick, attack a closeout again, kick. That almost moved at times, the start of the season, they had a little bit of that beautiful game Spurs to them. And they've maybe gone away from that.
Your stars are stars because they hit the tough shots, but you've got to find a way to get them some easy ones. Every shot can't be a tough contested shot. And, it wears you down. I just, by this point in the season, all this individual shot creation, it's got to be exhausting.
And to go to your point, Seth, that's also coaching. That's also the coach. That's also creating film. Turn to your video guy. Hey, I want every time he's done that over the last 5 games where he's had the advantage, but he stopped and didn't take advantage of it. Like, that's coaching. That's what you do. That's the job. That's part of it, and I think that's part of what I'm talking about in that sense. And Dave, and you're right, fatigue's definitely setting in. I mean, Tatum made a point to play every game this season and play major minutes and all of that stuff. I'm not a fan of load management, but the dude didn't need to play as many minutes as he played. You could have found a little more rest spots. And if there was an opportunity to maybe sit him a game, probably should have, because it's catching up to him now. You could see it here where he does look tired with these things. It's funny. They won this game and we're kind of shitting on them. It's sort of,
because honestly, they should have lost.
They had no business winning.